guess we're. I didn't see the agenda. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll have pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call.
Supervisor Bozzard?
Here.
I'm here. Treasurer Kowalski?
Here.
Trustee Woods?
Here.
Trustee Wright?
Here.
All present.
All right. The special order of business is for discussion and markup of the supervisor's recommended 26-27 budget and general appropriations act, the proposed wage schedule. That's attached. So I can start with A.
We have a lot of paper.
Doesn't get any less, that's for sure.
So how are we gonna do this?
I might suggest that we talk about salaries first, because that's kind of a spread throughout the budget.
Okay.
What is in the supervisor's proposal is following our past practice of providing a cost of living adjustment to most of the salaries. The cost of living from December of 24 to December of 25 is evidenced by one of the attachments that I sent a while back, was for the Detroit index that we use was 2.1%. So the salaries for, except for the elected officials and excluding also the per diem amount and excluding the office manager's salary, which is, there's a mechanism provided in that contract for any adjustment. And there is inclusion of a reference to an on-premise zoning administrator, which will be determined also by a contract. So with those exceptions, the deputy clerk, deputy treasurer salaries were increased, the base salaries by that amount. The assessor, the election inspectors, the fire chief, assistant chief, fire officers, and firefighters. Those hourly rates were increased by 2.1%. I will note that the building inspectors, who are paid 90% of the non-administrative permit fee, that there was no recommended adjustment of that, so it would remain in the proposal at least at the 90% level of the non-administrative permit fee. So I think that was pretty well, and the per diem would remain at $60, which hasn't been adjusted in a while, but that would apply to a number of boards and commissions.
Well, I definitely think that raising those wages with cost of living makes a lot of sense. So I think that makes a lot of sense to make sure that, we're competitive enough that people want to keep doing that work, and that it's, meets the needs of the people who are working for our township.
On the elected officials, with regard to those, no adjustments were recommended, with the exception that the treasurer had requested an adjustment. That salary, as the other salaries for the elected officials, not been adjusted in some time. That is contained, that increase is contained in the budget and would be accomplished by a salary resolution, which would be customarily on the February regular meeting agenda.
Okay.
And, I guess I'll just say, to me, I think if we can kind of keep up with inflation for our own positions, it just makes it less, it makes it easier to not fall out of sync with what the original intent was whenever it was updated last, and also our surrounding townships that were, we don't have to beat what they do, but it's a guideline, and we are going to be recruiting here a new clerk, hopefully, and so that was my thought process, but I could only speak for myself, obviously. So.
Do we ever have questions from our paid employees about the cost of living raises or anything like that? If or if not, they're going to receive them, or in the past or anything like that, that you're aware of?
Other than, I did talk to the fire chief as to whether any adjustments other than the cost of living would be done. He said, no, they'll all be happy with just keeping up abreast with the cost of living, that he had looked at the salaries in the county, and that we were near the top.
Okay.
Which is where we've historically tried to keep our
Yeah.
firefighters, because it's hard enough to recruit new firefighters anyway.
Right.
It seems the township keeps them busy enough also,
So,
in one matter or another. So.
Yep.
I hear what you're saying, Glenn, too, of just like making sure that even in our positions, it's like personally, I'm like, oh, like for me, I'm like, it's not necessarily thinking about myself in this, but like if we were to have to replace, like we're thinking with Jeff, like it's like if the pay is not there, how many people are going to be attracted to want to do that in the township, which then if we fall too far behind, that could be a concern.
There must be some thought process of keeping it the same. I just have never really heard anybody talk about it, I guess.
Well, except for the last couple of years, when frankly, there were other considerations. I'll just leave it at that. But it was we tried to do a cost of living. We applied the same cost of living factor, and then every 4 or 5 years we would check on the MTA information website there. It's kind of hard to get up-to-date information. A lot of townships don't report.
Yeah.
Ours looks like it's way behind, but it's not. It's because we haven't made an adjustment to our to the salaries that we originally reported to MTA. So, we would check that, and we tried to keep our salaries in the median, at about that 50th percentile. Not too high, not too low.
Yeah. I think that that makes a lot of sense, like especially thinking about the size of our township. It's like, we're not an Emmett, like we're not that large of a township, but we're not also one of the small, like it, I was looking at numbers of like what are sizes in terms of other, and there's just a lot of really big townships, but then there's a lot of really small townships too, and there's just not a lot that look like our township does. Because that's what I was just trying to even see, like local neighboring townships, what do they do?
I included Canvas, just as an example. So I
We are the meeting.
did put that, now they're probably, what, maybe half the size of us or so. And they have obviously a different revenue stream. They have the dump and the LS solar and that type of thing, but, that was easy for me to find. Emmett's bigger, right? Emmett's like 11,000 people, or 3,200 or so, I guess.
Yep.
And then, Marengo falls off, Lee falls off, and Eckford fall off dramatically, so.
Yeah, we're kind of just stuck there. I think Homer's about the only thing the only township, at least population wise,
Yeah,
that's about in the same wheelhouse. Everything else is either smaller or larger in a charter.
right. And I think the other thing to think about too is just like with the development that's happening, like how much work is there to do? It's one of those things to think about, like, it's one thing if it's like the township's not changing a whole lot, but, if the work required is gonna be a lot to do, it's like, what do we do?
I
Yeah,
will say that on the clerk's position, that it's getting increasingly more bureaucratic, I'll call it, because of the election requirements, and a lot of the newer requirements are there because of, frankly, unfounded stuff, but you still have to protect. So the legislature enacts, and unfortunately, the legislature sometimes they've done a fairly good job, no matter which party's been in control, of listening to election officials as to consequences, shall we say, of changes in the law, et cetera. Simple changes in the law require sometimes considerable effort at the local level to comply, and usually money. But usually salary doesn't get adjusted.
no, I was reading an article, Jeff, on your position, just in general, and it was like talking about that very fact of just how much has been added to the clerk's position in terms of like requirements, and yet, at least like they're like comparatively in the public market, if you were doing that same type of job, you'd be doing probably double what you actually make as a clerk. So I mean, you have a very tough position for sure.
Well, informationally also, with regard to salaries, we probably covered this last year, but that was last year.
Yeah.
The salaries, interestingly, we traditionally have done it in February, ahead of the budget, the budget being put together, and the budget and we always made them effective. If there was an adjustment, they would be effective April 1st. But there's nothing that says that has to be. The law says, the only thing the law requires, as I understand it, is that you cannot decrease an elected official's the position salary during the term of office. So the salary really belongs to the office, not to the current holder.
Correct.
So my successor will be entitled to be paid at least what the current pay is. And so the effective date and when you make any adjustments can be any time. during the year. The only thing that is it's subject to referendum if you can get a whole lot of signatures
Right.
to put it on a ballot. That's the check and balance on it. So adjustments could be made. I mean, you could review if you wanted to what other units of government are doing, and make those further adjustments as well.
And you said MTA tends to put something out there, or?
There's a tool in the MTA
Right.
that you can put in certain parameters and it'll give you information. It'll give you the median and it'll give you the range of those salaries. And we usually put in 2,500 minimum for the population.
Right.
Where we found that you got at least a decent number in there was if you put in 2,500 minimum for the population and 4,000 max.
And I think that's information that townships voluntarily put
Yes.
in too. So if the townships aren't putting it in, you don't
And it
always.
hasn't been updated.
Right.
Some of them.
Yeah. It would just be
But
interesting.
it kind of gives you, I mean, it does give you
Yeah.
kind of.
Yep.
I'd like to know where we fall, would be nice, at least in that. But in terms of all the other non-elected positions, I think it's important that we make it, that they can, the dollar still stretches as far as it, would have in previous as it does today, so.
Did anybody have any other, I did update the Schedule 1 and the wage schedule that we normally do with that to reflect everything I just said, and I also listed the elected official salaries.
So the wage schedules is it's more to give us perspective from the past. Is that the-
Yeah, that gives you the same, but the amount over in the right-hand column is the same as it is in the right-hand column of the, of that, except that you look at these things 10,000 times and you still find something. But on the Schedule 1, that, in parentheses, that wage is 2026-27, not 25-26. That would be what it would be.
In terms of planning purposes, like I see like the zoning administrator says C note and stuff like that. Do we have like a rough idea of what that number would roughly look like for a full-time zoning administrator, or?
Well, so I can only give you the little bit of dialogue I've had there. I think if probably it was maybe December-ish when we approved the job description, and I think in that there was, and I didn't pull this out, but I want to say there was a 4-day work week with hours proposed. And so then it becomes amount of what's an hourly rate. And all I can honestly say is that, I know we need help bad. The question is, can we support that level of effort long-term? And because when I look back, like when Paul was here, I think his contract was 30 hours plus $50 an hour. And I did an analysis one time, and he was working during the busy times because there was so much going on. I think he was working about 70 some hours a month. I also kind of looked at the invoices didn't really start until March with SCM, CCI. But we've been burning about, $1,000 to $1,200 a month. They started off at 800 and now they're getting closer to 1,200. But that's not in-house, right? So you could probably do some math, with whatever you think the hourly rate is. I'm just kind of starting to question whether long-term we're gonna really need somebody 4 days a week because, for example, Canvas, I think, is a half or a day a week. Penfield's a half a day a week. And then as needed, you know, we've had bigger issues, right? We had a bigger gap. And so it seems to me, one of the things I've been trying to talk to Joanna and the Planning Commission about is, would it make sense to have somebody come in still under contract and maybe work 4 or 5 days a week as needed, but then have the ability to throttle back over time? Because I don't know, I don't know that they ended up, like Mick would probably know better than I would, but whether you ended up with candidates for the position or not, but
This last I heard was what, eight or nine?
There's like 2 that are qualified. We're gonna
Okay.
do some interviews here, so.
I just heard the numbers and but it's been the chair, planning commission chair and the
Right.
supervisor
right.
handling that side of it.
So just to be
Yeah,
clear, the wage schedules don't set a salary
okay,
for it. It leaves that for, because I believe the solicitation said that it was negotiable.
okay,
So it doesn't really set, when you look at zoning administrator, it says to be determined, contractual per agreement. For budgetary purposes, the amount, we used a high mark for when Paul was here at there was one of the years where something was going on. And so $50,000 was placed in the planning budget for that. That would include salary and FICA and workers' comp.
okay. So there's like a placeholder is what?
Yeah, it's a placeholder. It doesn't set it at that.
Yeah. Great.
I'll just offer, just for what it's
Yeah.
worth or not worth, that that having also been the treasurer and knowing what goes into that, I don't have any problem with that, what Glenn has requested. And I would, if I were going to be here, well, February I will be. Okay, I would intend to vote for it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying, I'm curious of also just making sure that we're in line. If, like we said, we're looking for someone to fill a position, that we at least get people to the table,
And we've advertised the position for 4 days a week, so
Yeah,
if we're gonna throttle back, we've gotta.
let people know about, for the
Right.
zoning administrator part, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just think that's an important conversation, because what you don't want to end up with is, a year or two when we come out of the other end of having everything under control, a situation where you have somebody 4 days a week, and do you really need that? I mean, I literally don't know of another township that has that many hours, but that's what was approved, so.
I think also though, like, if you're saying like, oh, 2 years down the road, I mean, like, I would say like, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a ton, yeah.
So like, I think any job of today, what anybody's job looks years down the road may look very different, you know,
Right.
and can be renegotiated based off of what the needs are, but
Sure. It's harder, I think, to cut back
Back then.
people's hours if they're dependent on them, so.
yeah.
The contract, well, just, the contract length gonna be per year discussion?
I would think that, as far as I know, it's yearly, yeah.
It is yearly, okay.
That's what Carl's is. I think it was like July to July or something.
Okay, well, that will cover us then as far as the particulars.
With, one of the things, I'll just throw this out, I don't want to beat the idea, but I was curious because I've gone to a couple of the Canvas meetings and their planning administrator is a contract with McKenna, which is kind of expensive, to be quite honest with you. I mean, they're a good company, don't get me wrong, but they're, and so what they do is their model, he sent me a proposal of just general things that they are willing to do, but, you know, they are willing to, and I'm not suggesting them because they are expensive, but they are willing to come in and be here and be integrated into our systems, you know, and our files and that type of thing under contract. So just to have another option, I've asked SCMCCI if they would be willing to do something like that as well, if things don't pan out, you know, with prospective candidates, so.
Well, you do have more flexibility with a contract outfit,
Right.
as opposed to an employee, even if it's a contract employee, even if you say at will, because it's public employment, an at-will employee still has due process rights to their job. So you have that consideration, sort of say. So if somebody didn't work out that you thought would, it'd be much easier to change them out if you were contracting with a company that usually does that sort of work, as opposed to hiring your own employee,
Right.
just to make it more confusing.
Yeah, to add to confusion, because we're there. Just one other question. I know we have a contract with a deputy on the roads and stuff like that, and there was a proposal at the last meeting about having someone, and we didn't really talk a whole lot about it, but I just didn't know if that was something that the township's interested. Like, I see pros and cons to both of that. I just was curious.
Part of the package.
I think it's in,
Is it in here?
Yeah,
it's in the proposed
Okay.
budget.
I didn't-
It's in the package.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know if, would that person then, I guess this is a question for Jeff then, if we went that route, would that person then go on this list, Jeff? Or
No.
Okay,
No, it would be because they would not be an employee of the township.
Okay.
They'd be a county employee. We would be contracting, as we do for the traffic enforcement, with the sheriff's department to provide a service.
okay. Yeah, that was just a question I didn't know the answer to.
So I guess about the only question I would have remaining from a salary discussion is whether or not the board, the current proposal does not provide a cost of living or a cost of living adjustment to the elected officials. And if we're going to follow past practice and we do it, it would be something I would need by Wednesday to put on the February agenda, although you don't have to do it. You just can't make it retroactive. Yeah, it would be, that's when salaries were usually done.
You said January. So,
So right now, it just would have.
and all I did was I copied the resolution
Yep.
from last year and threw in the new dates
Yep.
and tried to at least give you my thoughts on the whys, but
No, it makes sense. I just, like I said, I'm kind of curious just where the other positions fall in terms of comparatively with other, if we're in the range or very close, then I'm like, oh, then we're good. But if we're falling behind, then I think,
I've done the survey thing. I think I did it for the zoning administrator position, so I can show you
yeah,
how to do that if you're,
I mean, I'm just, yeah,
again, it's only as good as the information that townships put in.
right, right.
Okay.
So then I guess I would say let's tentatively put that on the meeting for February and just at least look at what those numbers are and then we could either make a resolution or keep it either a resolution to keep it or to increase it to what that would be for wages.
Increase it the cost of living.
Right, exactly. Only, yeah, cost of living.
If you want to get it on the February meeting, you got to do it by Wednesday, right?
Well, I was trying,
That's what you want to have it.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we
If you
can,
wanted to make the February meeting.
yeah, we could do the resolutions with the exception of the treasurer's adjustment, which
Right.
is already there. We would put we'd apply the cost of living to the others and put those on as proposed resolutions, but at the meeting, those can be amended,
Okay.
or,
And
or
let's do the
technically,
cost of living.
technically you
I
could
think that
table them
feels-
too until till the March or April or May or June.
Do you think cost of living, Mick, or do you think, what's your thoughts on?
I really feel it doesn't make any difference to me.
Okay.
However, however, you two gentlemen have been here doing this a lot longer as paid employees in your particular positions. What has been the frequency of cost of living allowances for your position?
Well, up until 23, we did it
Right.
we applied the cost of living every year, and then just every 4 or 5 years, we take a look at the MTA thing, and sometimes adjustments were made, and some further adjustments were made, and sometimes they weren't. But the cost of living up until a couple of years ago was pretty automatic. So you'll find resolutions every February up until that time.
Okay. So it was standard practice in the past.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah.
Just put it for discussion.
Yeah, we can discuss it and if we could have the MTA stuff, we can see if it needs to be adjusted further or just keep it cost of living. I think it's fine.
On the MTA site, is there a median for the per diem also, or is there a range that you guys have?
I think, yeah, there's a.
I know I was at that conference back in October at Frankenmuth, and one of the guys I was sitting with, they get like 75 for per diem. And I was just saying, okay, it's just, I know where we're at, and I just wondered what the history has been on that one.
Ours hasn't been changed in a few years.
Hasn't been changed, and it used to be 40 and then.
Yeah. It was 40 and then we bumped it up to 60.
Right.
Which still was if I said it was the medium range of what we looked at that time, I would be probably a little high. I mean, because that $60 was on the low side of medium. And I was expecting some information, I haven't gotten it yet, from Dan. Our board of review members, when they're paid the $60, are the lowest paid.
Oh.
And they're here for.
Yeah, of the ones he does, and he does Sheridan, Convis, Marengo, and somebody else. And I asked him, well, what do they pay them? And he says it's 100 to 120.
Whoa.
Because but he said that's probably unique to the Board of Review,
Right.
because they do usually, spend all day.
There's 3 days that they're pretty much here all day.
Yeah.
And I guess I would,
Would you say something like that for, like it's obviously very different for going to a meeting versus being at an all-day thing, like,
Right.
or is it specific to the Board of Review? You know what I'm
I
saying?
think it would be
Yes.
specific to the Board of Review.
Yeah. And the laws for each of those are separate for each one. I mean, the Planning Commission has a provision in law says they may receive compensation as determined by the board. The Board of Review says the same thing. The Zoning Board of Appeals says the same thing.
Yeah.
The Elections Commission, the law is the same. So it doesn't say you have to pay them all the same. Each one of them you can determine differently if you want.
Is it harmful to have them be paid differently, in your opinion? I'm just like trying to, like, if we had that one be, significantly higher.
I wouldn't think it'd be harmful because, I mean, the amount of time that as
Yeah.
a Board of Review person that you have to put in,
Right.
and they probably should be paid more.
And it's a little different. That Board of Review is a different character. I mean, they're not recommending policy or passing on compliance or, like the Elections Commission does a test of the tabulators and stuff, but it's only a couple hours,
Yeah.
so it's totally, in my opinion, would be totally justified to pay them. And you can do it different ways. You could either have say they get paid 100, or that if the meeting is in excess of, in fact, the county did that years back. If the meeting was in excess of 4 hours, then they got
Right.
a double per diem.
Okay.
And the fear was, and it was closely monitored, and the fear was unfounded that people would talk a lot to get past the 4 hours.
I think we've been better
But
off
that did not happen.
to stick with $100.
They have set hours though, don't they? For the 3 day, 2 or
Yes,
3 days?
Yes, yep.
Yeah. And I know sometimes it's boring and sometimes it's
I think it's
exciting.
isn't it like 4 hours on an afternoon, and the next day it's 4 hours in the morning, or split morning to
Well, I
late
think
morning or the
they-
afternoon?
They go morning and afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, on both
One
days.
night, or one evening. and then they do
That's
one
right, okay,
evening.
okay.
I would be for maybe looking at making sure that we're being comparable,
Yeah.
like I
Well,
said.
there's people that take a day, I mean, some of the people on there actually have a job and they're taking a day
Yeah,
off. to
yeah.
do this, so.
I get that.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, really good information. So we're saying Board of Reviews, but are you suggesting the other per diem should be looked at too, Mick?
No, it's just a general question on how
Well, I
it has
think-
been applied.
Yeah, you'd like us to look at it and see where we stand compared to other people.
Right. Well, if we're aiming for median in the pay scale, we should do that across the board for what we are paying. And that was just my thought process there.
Yep.
That's good. Good thinking.
Where are we headed next in the packet?
So next would be I would suggest would be to take out the general or the budgets and General Appropriations Act proposal, and we'll go through revenue first and then go down the list of departments and then through the language.
This one, or- Yeah.
So I know in the revenue, the PA 425, I know I think we've gotten one payment this year already, if I recall. That was probably significantly more than in the past. And I'm gonna really work on trying to get with William Dopp and have a complete list of the parcels and the mills and the taxable value and then how much money, so that we have a document that we both agree is as accurate as it can be. And so when that check comes in, it isn't a guess.
Now,
So,
I think we've talked about this once before, but has there been, between yours and Wayne's discussion days, meeting days with them, have there been discussions on that particular subject
About MILF or,
you mean
about finding
well, not,
your predicament that you're in right now?
well, yes, but I think it was more of a side discussion of, hey, Derek, would really
Right.
like to do this with William, so that hopefully he supports William. I don't really know who works for who. I think the assessor reports to the treasurer, but I don't know if the treasurer reports to anybody other than the council. I have no idea, but just to kind of set the tone that, really like to do that. We have, they owe us money for 2024 that should hopefully come in this fiscal year, I'm hoping. And that's kind of unique. That's the property between 12 and 13 Mile that got incorrectly taxed in 2024. And then we'll have the winter tax pass through. So it's something I'm really interested in. I think they're less interested in. So,
And I agree with you. There's that old adage, trust but verify.
right,
exactly.
right,
And, you know, we're getting all this money. Like you said, you got one big check and you're hoping it covered everything, but you do not know for sure.
right.
So verification of that everything's kosher
Right,
is
So
a
that-
normal expectancy
right.
in this type of business.
It's
One of the
just,
things.
it's tedious work, and I think, you know, without getting into, I think William did it about 10 years ago when he came into the role, and he spent a lot of time, he said, and he's reluctant to kind of rehash it, but I'm hoping that, you know, it won't be as bad as it sounds, and we can end up with a spreadsheet that we both buy into, and
It'll help both sides.
and then, you know, that, and then a process. So if the assessor splits a property or combines a property, that information flows to both groups, so that list gets updated, so the parcels are up to date. So that's,
Well, the cross-flow information will be helpful
Right.
to both sides, so.
so the goal is there, and the sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned, but I haven't gotten a response from
Okay.
William yet.
And I think that they recognize from the conversation, like it is a problem when they're taking multiple parcels, combining them together, re-splitting them off. It's like, wait, how does that impact, these, 425 properties and the millage rates and stuff like that. So it's not an easy
Yeah.
thing, but they're also like, Derek's like, I'm a visual guy, so he goes, I'd love an art GIS map that could show that, of what the original parcels look like along with what the new combined parcels look like. But it is something that's recognized as, this is a problem that makes it difficult later down the road when, what happens to those parcels. And if we have very specific 425 agreements on that have slight variances, that makes it challenging as well. What rules apply where? So.
I'll just say in general on revenue is that we followed the past practice of being trying to be on the conservative side, not being ridiculously low, but trying to be on the conservative side. So if we get any surprises, hopefully they'll be, oh,
Yeah.
we got more money than we thought. I used the state figures for the revenue sharing, which have generally have been pretty well on. And their new figures just came out reflecting what the legislature did with regard to the transportation funding. And the big thing there is any normal inflationary increase in the sales tax collections was more than wiped out by the fact that the gas or sales tax is no longer on gas. That was replaced with the gas tax, which does not go into the revenue sharing pot. So that's why that's down. I think another one that is down, the casino revenue sharing is, it is what it is. The 22-23 was abnormally down because that was COVID. That was the COVID time. So you can see that it's generally been about this. It's about the same, but we're I believe in what they call the third tier. So there's a lot of moving parts before that pot even gets determined. So we just generally have kept that a pretty stagnant estimate, and it's usually within a few $1,000s of that. I did, where are we? Oh, Canvas, on the Canvas fire contract, that's got a couple of moving parts to it. They pay based on state equalized valuation. They pay a share of all of our operating expenses. And with regard to salaries, we include in that the salaries that we pay the chief and the officers. And then they also pay for the actual fire run, the salary, the payroll for the actual incident responses that are in Canvas Township.
So obviously for some reason we think it's going down.
I don't think it's going to go down unless the number of incident responses went down, but overall incident responses have gone up for the fire department just overall. So I don't expect it to be that. It's just to be on the conservative side. That figure was used, if it was $40,000, if that was the estimate, then that would, I would not be uncomfortable with that. That money would go into the contingency fund.
Right. And then I think the interest, maybe I can
Yeah.
work on that a little bit and see if I can get some numbers. I think they're probably a little higher, I'm guessing, but I can.
Well, that's one project that I want to have done before I left, and that's to get us on real-time posting to that instead of what we have done in the past, which is, outside of the checking account interest, it all gets posted at the end of the year as an audit adjustment. I want to get that to real-time posting, and then we'd have a much better handle on what we've got.
Right.
So that's kind of the revenue side of it. If there are any questions.
Just out of curiosity, I see like fire run charges, like what was that before? And like, it looks like we don't do anything with that now.
No, yeah, we used to have an ordinance charging, and we got a lot of grief from residents.
Okay.
And the problem is that apparently there's varying thoughts by depending on which attorneys you talk to. But the general rule is that at one time we wanted not to charge our residents and just charge out of town folks, out of people who aren't residents because of the two freeways. And the attorneys told us we could not do that. And it had to be that there's a court ruling that it has to be a uniform
Policy.
Pick on the outside.
So, and we couldn't get legislators agreeable to try to amend the law.
I wonder if you could split it not by resident, non-resident, but by type of run. Like for a run to the highway is charged, but a run to a residence is not. I wonder if you could do it.
I don't know. I mean, that's one that
Because I think Jay told me about 70%
are the highway.
is the highways, and they don't always result in anything. You know, if somebody slid off in the ditch, somebody calls 911. When he gets there, he's not going to pull them out of the ditch. He's going to let the tow truck do that.
Right.
But if it's an accident or something they have to get involved in, then
Yeah, they have to check to make sure that it's not gonna blow up or something.
We did have an unwritten practice that if an insurance company paid the amount, and it was a resident, we accepted payment. And the auditors never questioned it. We never exactly advertised that to them, but they never said anything different.
I think it's something worth exploring only because at the end of the day, our guys go on a lot of runs. There's this, I don't fully understand it, but we have this, we help out other areas. And so a lot of times, a lot of people get called and I don't know how, I assume dispatch somehow hopefully manages that, but I don't really know. But I know the only thing I can say is Township does charge, well, they try to charge for every run. And, right or wrong.
As a fire board representative from the board, township board, do you know if the runs are segregated out by township runs or versus mutual aid runs?
I think they do. I think he does in his reporting. I'd have to find.
Because I know at the monthly, he just says, hey, we read this
Yeah.
many for year to date.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's broken it up by quarter too, which is nice too. So you
Okay.
can see how many are mutual aid versus, sorry, I need to.
And that's fine.
file
That's just
cabinet here.
something that you guys
Yeah, he.
is done within the board.
I think the one thing we have to think about though with mutual aid, and I, just because I see it all the time in front of my house, is Marshall isn't always the first one there. There's a lot of other emergency response that get there sometimes before.
Marshall Township or?
Marshall Township, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like, sometimes Marshall City will get there first,
Well,
sometimes
they're staffed, right?
Yes.
24 hours, I
right,
think.
like
so.
our guys have to get to the thing and then get
Right.
out, yeah.
Right.
So,
Our guys got to leave Marshall City Fire Department.
yeah, right.
So we still, when we rescinded the ordinance, we still kept the ordinance for recovering on hazmat runs, on wires down, and also on illegal burn.
Okay.
We still kept that for that the fire department can bill for that.
Okay. Do you, for a legal burn, is that even residents? Is that what we're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, if you illegally burn and you get a ticket, you also get a bill.
Okay. But if you get called and it's not an illegal burn, we're eating that, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's not billed.
Yeah, we've been getting those here.
So to me, the revenue side looked pretty reasonable. I mean, you could argue, we could bring the canvas fire contract up to 40,000, maybe. I'll try to get a better handle on the interest. So that maybe, even though we're trying to be conservative, we can probably bump that up a little. Because one of the things, jumping ahead is, it's kind of scary, is that
Expenditure.
this is a big expenditure year, and so when we start talking about expenditures, I think we have some challenges.
So then we'll, on the markup part, we'll have Compass Fire contract at 40,000. Anything else on revenue? On expenditures, probably the easiest way is just go down the line. So any questions about the supervisor? Supervisor's budget, should I say? The office of the supervisor. On the clerk's budget, it's pretty, there's not any big change.
Now this number, these are department numbers, right?
These are departmental numbers.
So does this include the non-statutory?
No, that's a salary in the township hall. That the board is gonna have to determine at the time after you probably get a clerk, how you're gonna handle those, not how those are gonna be handled.
Right.
That salary would not automatically pass on, because that is a salary, a personal services salary.
Say that one more time.
That, as opposed to being like their office
Yeah,
position salaries for elected officials.
yeah.
That for performing non-statutory duties, those are more personal service type, so it is unique to the person and the board.
Right, so like, just because whoever comes in your shoes isn't necessarily gonna handle some of those other things that.
Right.
Where you're saying they could be
Yes.
shared.
I mean, and that could be either way, either because the board wants to assign it to somebody else,
Or they don't want.
or because they don't want to do it, and they're not obligated to do it, so.
Right. They're not statutory, gotcha. Yeah.
So then, under let's see, the heading is Township Board, that's like salaries, right? Is that correct?
That's salaries, that's insurance, non-fire department insurance, that's the audit, the annual audit fees, that's the MTA, MEDA dues. That is, salaries of the trustees, and any per diem payments, for committees of the board are under that for board members. That's the reimbursement, which has been the same amount for a long time, of $35 a month for maintaining internet at your homes in order to be electronically communicated with by the township. All of those types of expenditures and attorney fees.
Is there
Oh,
a document that breaks down the expenditures under each one of these categories?
Yeah, the monthly budget, the monthly budget report does on that basis, but I also am running, and it's 58 pages. I'm not making copies, but you will get an electronic version of everything, every line item under these departments, and what the expenditures have been to date and last year's expenditures were.
Okay. I was looking, I guess I should have phrased it as, is there more of a legend of what falls underneath each?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I'll send that to you electronically, and if you want a copy of it, ask a paper copy of it, let me know, and I'll have Carl run those.
5 frames later.
that's the thing you just sent us just before the meeting, right?
Was it? Did I send, actually, I didn't know whether I sent it, but it was like 58 pages
Yeah,
long.
yeah, I don't know how many, yeah, but it looks like it.
Yeah, is that it?
Yeah, so my question would be, can we run this report without all the actual individual expenses so that?
So it just, that shows the line items?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the monthly report that I run for,
Okay.
that's attached to the board,
Board meetings.
to the agenda.
Okay,
That shows the department, and there's a separate page for each one department, and it shows the line items. This report that I sent you, that's 58 pages, shows the actual little expenditures under each of those items.
Paper readings.
Yeah. But I've got that report for, I think for January.
through January.
Yeah, I'll have it through January, and that'll be attached to the February agenda,
Okay.
for the February regular agenda.
So did you want to go down through each one?
Yeah. Um, so where were we? Oh, okay. The treasurer amount, includes the salary increase, that Glenn's requesting. And it also included a slight adjustment from what you submitted, Glenn, because the FICA and Medicare applies to the deputy too, but it's of one account.
Okay.
So I took both salaries and did that. The township board, I just explained, the reason that's down a little bit is that the attorney fees, we kind of budgeted the 40,000 this year that we budgeted for the Court of Appeals, was based on the attorney's estimate. So if there's any of that left over, that can be carried over. This backs some of that off. It still would leave $20,000 in next year's budget on top of what we usually budget for attorney fees. And that's in the township board budget. The township hall is for, the salaries that are there are the 800 a month for me for non-statutory duties, and 75% of Carl's salary related to those general duties. We also charge the other 25% of his salary is charged off to the building inspection department for permit issuance.
And I assume the elections are because of the cycle.
Elections, because, this year we did not have any elections.
Yeah.
Next year, it now looks like, my fear that we were gonna have three, keeping fingers crossed, tomorrow at 4 PM is the deadline.
Okay.
But so far, neither Harper Creek nor Marshall Public Schools have requested a special May election. And neither has KCC, and neither has the ISD. Those are the ones that
would do it, yeah.
because the ambulance, they're taken care of.
Yeah.
I mean, because they could, the May isn't just a school possibility. It can be any of the people that are authorized. So I'm cautiously optimistic we're gonna make it past that. And that'll give the new clerk a little more time to get their certification, their, I'm not gonna call it, accreditation. And also that elections includes They projected $5,500 approximately for early voting for the two elections.
And that's handled by the county, right?
That's handled by the county. We just pay our share. And she's been conservative about her estimate, as they didn't want to tell us, like, that first cycle where we had 2 years ago, our cost was under $2,000. But they told us it was going to be about anywhere from 5 to 7,500. But the state paid for more of it. Now, this year, they're still arguing with the state about paying for stuff.
Well, initially, the first time around, they had no idea what the state was
Right.
going to come up with, so they just threw numbers out at it, so.
With that, do we just pay our bit? We don't have to do anything at the county? The county handles all that?
Well, the county, actually, the clerks meet periodically. All the clerks meet, and it's kind of a team thing. The county clerk is the coordinator of it all, but we're still expected to, which we do. We turned over our list of election inspectors, and
They kind of can be called
they
in to
can
help.
kind of call to help them, sort of thing.
Do those ballots just get handled at the county and go up to the state, or do they have to come back?
No, they don't come back here. In fact, we find out what the Marshall Township results for early voting are at the same time the general public does.
Oh, wow.
And they have a separate counting board. They have separate officials that certify things, and they certify directly to the county clerk and who then certifies to the Secretary of State. They give us, pretty frequent reports on how many people from our township have voted. And then if somebody say voted early and then showed up here on election day, it's on the computer that, sorry, you already voted.
Already voted. That's good. Nice.
Elections,
Zoning Board of Zoning Appeals Board, and that's, we're assuming we're gonna have more, it seems high last year, but we had a lot more times y'all met.
yeah, that historically has kind of been a figure that we put in there, but they only spend whatever they spend for it. If the zoning board of appeals or the board's able to find some people to serve as alternates, we have always paid for because the zoning board of appeals uniquely is allowed alternates.
Oh.
You can have up to 2 alternates appointed to the zoning board of appeals. The zoning board of appeals is 3 members. 1 from the planning commission that's designated, they're all appointed by the township board. 1 can be a planning commissioner. 1 may be a member of the township board. Doesn't have to be, but 1 can. And then all of the members have to be registered electors of the township. So they have to be registered voters of the township to be on it. And you can have up to 2 alternates who can alternate in for somebody. But you could not have 2, the way the law's worded, you can't appoint a township board member to the ZBA and also appoint another township board member as an alternate.
Okay, yeah. Just one.
That maximum of 1 applies to both members and alternates.
In terms of having alternates, because I mean, I know it's just 3 people and it's nice to have that third person there. Like, is it only paying them if they are called in to do a meeting, or are we paying people also for reserve? You know?
We, in the past, when we did have an alternate for a while, and then the person got elevated to Trent was an alternate.
Yeah.
And he got elevated and then it's hard to find somebody that wants to be on there. It's when you, especially when you explain to them what they do, you know, what their responsibility is. And they have to be confined to the law, what the law says.
Yes.
But we paid them, if the alternate could be at the meeting, even if we had 3 members, we paid them because they were getting background if something got carried over and
Right.
to the next meeting and the person couldn't show up, then, or member, then we did that and it wasn't.
So the alternates tended to come to the meeting even though they weren't participating? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Now we're down to just 2, aren't we? Or
Right, because Jeff was on there.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's on the agenda for a February board meeting, is to appoint someone to that. And they'd have a meeting scheduled.
Well, when is their next meeting? I should probably know this as
I think it's the Thursday after the township board meeting.
After the township.
So whoever's appointed, it could be baptism by fire.
Yeah, right? Oh, goodness.
But it's an easy one.
And these aren't regular meetings, these are
No,
called.
they're just as called.
As needed,
Yeah,
right?
as needed.
Can I ask a question, Jeff? You said, I know, like you said, the board member, we can only have one board member on it.
Yeah.
And is that rule also true of planning commission people too?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
I
So,
want to
like,
say it is.
Not saying,
But I
like,
didn't
if
look-
Nick couldn't do it because he would, I mean, like, he would be a board member and a planning commission person
Right.
on that
Right.
thing.
I'm not a planning commission person. I'm the board's rep to the planning.
Well,
If you want to split that hair.
splitting the hair, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
It's like a super delegate.
Yeah, super delegate. I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to make sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You get it figured out, let me know.
And you'll see that there was, like, for the zoning board of appeals, you'll see that there was 0 expenditures during 24, 25, because there was nothing before the zoning, we didn't meet.
Yeah.
Or they didn't meet.
And the board of review, which we talked about.
Yeah, we talked about that, and they do have their law allows alternates, and there are appointed alternates to that.
Okay.
And those are set meetings 4 times a year?
Yes, yep.
Quarterly, okay. Who is currently on that board of review?
Buller,
Steve Riggs,
and,
oh,
Dan?
Sean Newport.
Sean Newport, yeah.
Okay.
And then the alternates, George
Yeah, he's 90.
Guerin.
Yeah.
And Rothwell,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Mr. Rothwell.
good, okay. Nice.
And they got mandatory statutory training
Oh,
that they have to.
Because they all had training before last year.
And they also have to be registered electors of the township. We had, the cemetery is mostly for lawn care. We have had no burials since early '23 was the last burial. And we do not sell, the township voted to no longer sell graves because basically due to records, Cindy was able to reconstruct, when she was clerk, was able to reconstruct a number of the records, but there were some records that were either lost or
yeah.
whatever. And it was after an unfortunate incident where they were digging a grave that was just sold to some people, and there was somebody already there, an occupant already there. And she had Consumers Power come in, with their radar and did a real good job of mapping it out. But the decision was made not to sell anymore.
Do we get that request a lot, or?
No, we have not.
That's good.
No, but there's some lots and we don't know who owns them.
Yeah, we don't know who owns them, but the law requires they have to produce a deed.
Right.
Certificate. Yeah, so there's some sold plots that still
Right.
could be.
We have some records here, but a person seeking to have somebody buried there has to show a deed.
Do you think those records, I've heard that they were in that building that was at the cemetery at
No.
one time?
Well, they may have been a long time, a bunch, but there were records that were in the old Township Hall that got damaged
Damage.
beyond repair. And speaking of that building, when we get to a little discussion on capital improvements, that building is falling apart.
On the cemetery.
And I talked with John Brunner, who does the burials there at our cemetery. He does a number of them throughout the county. But that is not used for anything.
Oh. Is a suggestion to like just remove?
His suggestion is that either it should be rebuilt, which he said probably would be costly, or it should be removed. But he said it was used for, just storing equipment a long time ago, and he doesn't store anything there.
Makes sense.
And I went in it last summer, and yeah, there's nothing in there other than
The roof is in there. The roof is in there, I think.
yeah, it's part of the roof. Few stones. And in fact, we don't even have water there. There was a Bud Moe brought,
Was it Budmo or Charlie Parker?
Bud Moe
Okay.
donated a thing, but nobody,
Yeah.
nobody does. I think
Donated what?
an above ground
Tank.
water
Tank.
tank.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think it's been maintained.
I would think just from a insurance liability perspective,
Yeah.
it's in that state of disrepair, it should
Yeah.
come down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he thinks he was gonna go up and look at it, and so I'll get to the board, what he thinks just offhand, but he wanted to look at it more carefully, but he thinks he's got the equipment, he can do it with his backhoe
Oh,
and truck, so,
And there's no trust for that cemetery.
no. Nope.
Sort of like the city of Marshall, they don't have a trust either, and you kind of wonder if times got hard, what the upkeep of the cemetery would be, but it would be nice. And is there much space there that's unused?
Hey, that-
Or is it?
Not really. No, I think that, I can't remember what all the details were, but when Cindy presented that closing of the cemetery, there weren't many lots even before that she thought would be available. There weren't many. In fact, at one time, we looked into expanding it.
I was gonna say,
Neighbors didn't want to sell.
oh, yeah.
well, we got quiet neighbors, so.
I was involved in that decision. So.
Yeah, you were.
Yes.
Well, I was second.
Sean didn't like that cemetery there.
Sean has issues.
We don't need to go there.
Right, there we go.
Okay.
The fire department looks like quite a boost, but it really isn't. There will be, when when the final budget adjustment comes through for the current year budget, there's some additional funds that'll be recommended for the fire department. Incident responses that I mentioned earlier are up. And we just did January's payroll, and usually January has been down. It was not because of the weather, basically. So there's gonna need to be some additional salary money appropriated, or money for salaries. Insurance looks like it's up by about 15,000, but that's kind of deceptive because one of the policies that applies to the fire department, which is which just covers the firemen and their liability, their, wrong, accidental death, et cetera. It's a 3-year premium that we just paid for this calendar year, next, and the one after that.
So it's $45,000, right?
Yeah, but this year's budget's actually going to be closer to about 330 when the adjustments are made.
So this is the part I was struggling with. So I don't know if Jay was saying, I assume this is Jay's document, but is he saying we didn't pay insurance in
No,
25, 26? He's got a 0, and then he's got 45,000 for a net, gain of 45,000.
Jay would budget for certain of the items within the budget, and we would, at the board level, we inserted things like insurance. So if you look back at the budget, the figures that are on the supervisor's proposal are the actual figures for including insurance and those items, but Jay didn't provide that information in the budget process. That was pulled directly from past expenditures.
Because in the budget that we're going through right now, I mean, it's I guess it's up about, what, 60,000? Does that look about right? Roughly.
Yeah, it would be, but when we get done with the supplementals for this year, that 25, 26 figure is gonna be closer to 330.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying, so it doesn't look, the jump for this year is not, for this next year, is not as high as it looks like it is on this document.
So this is where I was confused, because I'm looking at this fire department budget, and it says 25, 26, but it's got these different columns. So are we saying that this is not, because I had a lot of questions about this, insurance was one of them, right? Even though, I mean, I'm sure, I gotta believe we've been paying insurance on our fire stations. So there shouldn't be a $45,000 ad. I assume, I made the assumption, probably incorrectly, that was a delta for station 1 being a bigger station, but.
No, the additional premium for station 1, I think, was like 5,000 for the new station 1.
And then in his budget, he had like operational equipment, and maintenance trucks and equipment. And I don't know if that's, yeah, I guess, so basically disregard this breakdown.
Those are, his breakdown is different than the budget, in the budget document. When you look at the budget document that comes, that one, either the Choco Horse one I sent you, or the one that's attached to our board agenda, includes all of those items, but they're different, they're assigned to different line items than he worked on, than his document shows.
So to get to this
3.5.
number that's in the supervisor's budget,
All of what he's got is taken into account, plus insurances, et cetera.
okay, but the detail of what goes into that, do I have to go to the giant, this thing?
Probably, yes.
Or wait till the February meeting?
I'd wait till till we get I can run that, budget report. I'll do that before Wednesday, or before Friday's budget, so that, before Friday's agenda comes out. So that you get it separately, so it's not buried in there.
Because I worked with Jay on this, because, he, I think that's probably item B, maybe, I don't know. He went out and he did his 5 and,
Right.
no, 10 and 20, I think.
Yeah, you did.
And, when he and I talked, I said, gosh, this looks good, except how do we know whether we have the money to support that? It was based on, I think, a 20-year life for certain engines and vehicles and a 30-year life on tankers.
Right.
So I put this spreadsheet together, and, essentially the conclusion was we have, which would be so basically the columns are fire millage revenue, which was the best number I had, plus what we had as of March 31st, 2025, that was, what's the word you use? You can't touch it.
Restricted. Yeah.
Restricted.
Restricted fund balance.
Right. And then I did an accumulative, right? So I just kept adding that number. And then I took his planned capital expenses and then pulled those out, and that's what the column remaining funds would be. So just based on his capital estimate, the fund continues to grow, and these are all in present day dollars, right? So it's we don't know what inflation's going to be, but we're hopeful that the revenue and the expenses will be similar in inflation. And then I just threw in there's a well pump issue at Station 2,
Yeah.
and I threw in a roof for Station 2 because it'll be 30 years old in 2036, and most
Probably.
roofs don't last 30 years. So those were my ads. But then what I started thinking about, and this was just my thoughts, is because we burn between the capital and the fire station non-capital budget. I mean, we burn way more than our millage, for our combined millage. So what I did in the next column is I started by putting the entire 300,000 in there, and that didn't obviously work out well. So then I just kept playing around with the number until the last column, which is, so the fire department non-capital budget would be monies that would come from this line item, potentially. So it could be those items like the truck maintenance, or it could be whatever. And then that last column is what you have left over if you do that, which they all are positive. There's a couple lean years where there's only $20,000 after we buy a $1.4 million tanker. But, but again, there's considerable monies in there. So my thought process was that if the board decides to renew the millage, then we could potentially move some of
Which the fire,
operating expenses for the fire department. And those, I'm probably not saying this correctly, but we could use some of those restricted funds as part of the operating budget.
You could exercise the authority that the voters have already granted us.
Right.
Which is, for
Fire,
the purpose of acquiring new fire trucks, firefighting equipment, capital improvements, and operation expenses.
Right.
We just never have done that, but it's.
right.
But the,
And you know, I mean, realistically, it started in 2006, we built a fire station 2, right?
Yep.
And then the next one got passed in probably 2012, we built fire station 1 is around then. So we built 2 fire stations with the last 2 millages, which I assume were pretty expensive. And then I think you've actually got a sheet in here of
Yep.
things that we've bought, but we've got 2 pretty decent fire stations now. Station 1 is, I know it needs a new parking lot, which was one of my questions. Shouldn't that parking lot come out of the capital
you're saying the capital improvement?
from the restricted millage?
yes,
Okay.
yes, the seal coating of, that really needs to be done this year of Station 2 parking lot.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
it needs.
I think they're actually talking about maybe having to grind it or something.
Oh, mill it.
Yeah, because it's got
Yeah.
lots of cracks.
Yeah, no, that's millage eligible and should be from that.
So anyways, this was my thought process. I talked to Jay about, and then maybe didn't go to the fire board meeting, but, it just seemed to me like it could make sense without any risk that we wouldn't have money for trucks.
So I just want to make sure, so the fire department non-capital budget, like, what does that all include, Glenn? I'm just trying to.
Well, it's this item that we're on right
Yes.
here. It's fire department. So you've got fire department, I'll call it capital, which comes out of the restricted funds. So Jay went and he did his, buy a truck out in these years. Or if you were gonna build another fire station. But then there's these operating expenses, which is, I assume it's salaries, it's insurance, it's
Maintenance of the vehicle.
training, it's equipment or maintenance of trucks. It's got a whole bunch of elements to it. But right now it's coming out of the general fund.
Right. And
So
then,
if we could push a little bit of that towards the actual fire millage restricted funds, then it would free up that money. And it wouldn't, again, from my perspective, it wouldn't put our ability to buy the fire trucks we think we need. You'd still have, money left over, so.
and this 120 though, like, we'd still have a fire department expenditure within the general budget, it just wouldn't be.
It would be
as big.
$120,000
Less.
lower.
Yeah.
This would actually still be 353,662. It's just that you would, that fire millage that's on here, you would reduce that 383 by the 120,000 or whatever it is, because that would not go into the savings account.
Yeah.
That would be retained by the general fund to
Right.
help fund that 353.
Right.
And if something, your numbers look good, Glenn, I'm not arguing, but if something were like, oh my goodness, we don't have enough in this, we could always, from our general operation budget, help alleviate if there was like a shortfall of, a small amount to
Right.
get a tanker or something.
Right.
In some of those leaner years.
Yeah, you'd have that flexibility for sure. If it, say a truck, I don't know. And I think our budget, and this question came up, and I have no idea how much a 20-year-old fire truck is worth. But you're gonna sell it for something, so
Right.
there's some monies that we haven't accounted for that'll come back in. Now, if it's a 20-year-old F-150, it probably doesn't have a tremendous amount of value, but if it's a tanker, or if it's a fire engine, it probably still has significant value, because realistically, they don't have many miles on them. That's why they last 20 years, I guess. Anyways,
So it's just taking some of the things that can only be used for a certain amount, move some of that, which already the language supports, so that it frees up other monies within our general operation budget,
right,
so that our hands aren't tied. It's like, we have lots of money over here, but we can't touch it.
right.
So to complete that, the 353, if this model were followed, the 353,662 would remain the same. The amount of 383,341 would be reduced by 120,000, and then down here under this, the contingency would be increased by 120,000
Right.
and would be available for other
Uses. Yeah. That's a lot better than 30.
Or if it's not, if we don't use it for other purposes during the year and have no need to tap in the contingency, then it just goes into unrestricted fund balance.
Right.
Right. Because when I did the math, if you take out, like our big checks, our big expenditures this year, the fire truck is almost $1 million, and the roads, which were, I don't know,
760 something.
yeah, so, almost $800,000. Those are kind of once in a while kind of things,
Right,
hopefully.
Yeah.
But if you take those out, if I did the math correctly, we're running almost, we'll have that $30,000 contingency. And that's about it. So we wouldn't be rebuilding any fund balance, which I'm not saying we should, but we also wouldn't have much necessarily for roads either. $30,000 will buy 1 mile of chip seal.
Paint.
Maybe.
Chip seal, I think, is about 30 grand a mile.
We're headed towards paint. No, I think that makes sense. And the nice thing too is like, we can do this and we reevaluate it every year.
Sure.
If we're like, yeah, it still makes sense to pull that 120. It's not like, well,
Right.
we made that decision. We're locked in.
Right, because all these are estimates. I mean, I'm sure Jay did the best he
Yeah.
could, but trucks
Right.
costs
But if we
could
can-
change.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, when one company owns all of its
Yeah,
competitors, that's why fire trucks, instead of $300,000, are now $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Fire board, fire truck purchase.
fire truck purchase has to be reflected in the budget. So it's there, but it's offset by restricted fund balance, which was for that purpose.
Yeah.
If we follow, which is, if that's the consensus that we would follow this funding model for the fire department, then we would adjust that fire millage by decreasing it by 120 and increasing the contingency by 120.
Just out of curiosity, underneath the fire truck purchase is fire millage, and it's under expenditure. I'm just curious what that is.
We put it in here we have to show the flow. It goes into fund balance at the end of the year because it's never expended,
Okay,
but it has to be reflected in the budget.
okay,
The receipt of the revenue and what you did with the revenue.
okay,
And what this shows with the language in the General Appropriations Act, which follows, is that the board intends that it'll go into it. So that language we would modify to say that $120,000 will be used to apply to general operations per the authorization of voters, and the remainder will go to restricted fund balance.
yeah. Makes sense.
And that will obviously impact our investment interest because we won't have this giant pile of money past May or whenever we have to make
Yeah, I didn't
payments.
want to get too carried away on that estimate.
Yeah.
Plus,
Although I have been
who
levered,
knows where interest rates are going.
right, they all,
Don't look like they're going up for the paying out.
Well, let's see what happens in June or July with a new Fed guy when he comes in. And he could be doubling our money by August. The CDs.
I hope not.
Okay,
Warning sirens, inspect.
just, Jay will handle this, but just so that everybody else is aware of it, when the rest of Michigan Avenue when the middle part of Michigan Avenue is done, which I think is next year, there is a warning siren that'll be in the median, which I'm sure they won't allow. And it was located where it's located because of the Eden subdivision, which will be no longer.
There.
So, whether that still should be there or whether Jay should have West Shore Services, which services our siren and puts them in, installs them, et cetera. They also, in the past, have done population studies of the township, and that's why they're located where they're located. So they probably should look at that again, and that should be moved. And my feeling is MDOT should pay for moving it.
Yeah.
Technically, it's not in the MDOT right of way. It's, the county gave us permission to put it there because it was in the service road, which was a county road. It was in that right of way. So I don't know how that's gonna work out, but it's nevertheless, it's an issue Jay's gonna have to deal with to have it moved.
Yeah.
And whether it's a matter of just getting permission from the state to have it on the north side of the road there in the right of way, or whether a population study would show that it should be located somewhere else now
Yeah.
is another issue.
is there one down, there must be one down near Squaw Creek somewhere, I said.
15-mile road.
15-mile road, and they drive.
Do they still need it though for, like, I mean, with the factory, like the Blue Oval, like being able to be in earshot of it, or
Well,
is it?
I don't think they're gonna hear anything inside.
Yeah, it's true.
and and that's in the city, so
That's a, yeah, oh, you're right, that's a city.
they can worry about it themselves.
Most plants have,
Their
they're
own.
kind of their own protocol too. Big plants. Inspections and permits?
Yeah, that's always just, I mean, this is offset by the revenue. So if we only spend 50,000, the revenue is going to be partially offset. Whether or not, I think what needs to be looked at is whether the last time we looked at permit fees, the, our, our base permit fees were competitive, were in line with surrounding units of government. But and I forgot whether I think it's $75. There's an administrative fee that's tagged on to the permit fees, which it actually covers our costs. We pay the inspectors 90% and retain, of the base fee, which the 10% offsets the FICA and the workers' comp part of that. But the other part would be for the permit officers, that 25% salary and related benefits. And I'll have to get some figures from Carl from the BSA system to show whether or not that's keeping pace. I think that's where, if there's any problem with our fees, that's where the problem would be. That administrative fees should be.
Because it looks,
Should be adjusted.
it looks on paper, and I know these are estimates, but it looks like in revenue, we're estimating 48,000. And in expenditures, we're estimating 66,000. So if we believe those numbers, in theory, we're losing money on permits.
Yeah, but when we look at this and decide what the fees should be, we really have to look at what has happened in the past. What have been the actual expenditures,
Right.
and we've actually paid out, and we're allowed by law to cover that.
Yeah, you can't make money out of it.
In fact, and one of the things that I've had discussions with the auditors before, but it keeps appearing like that, is I've said, why do you continually put in the audit that since 1908 or whenever that figure is, that, that there's a deficit, it shows a big deficit. Well, in those years, they were supplemented, but we cannot by law go back and recoup that. You can only match your current, the current fees are with current expenses. So their provision, I have argued with them, should say that for the year audited, this is how much you charge for fees, and this is how much eligible expenditures match those fees, and you either have a deficit or you don't for that particular year. And then you can use that projection for the next year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're constantly running into a deficit because you're using old data.
Because I don't think, because we had a couple of years, recently we've had a couple of years where we recouped our expenses. And that was even including, the auditors were not including the permit officer's salary. And then the our attorney firm convinced the auditors that they should be taking that into account. That it's not just the inspectors, it's the process.
Right, because 25% of Carl's salary comes out of that.
Out of that, right.
Yeah, so this 66 estimate includes all of the inspectors plus 25% of Carl.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be it'd be good just to, take a look at the last fiscal year and just see what we got.
I'll have them fish that out.
And the next one is ordinance enforce. Is that's right now we have like SEMCCI doing ordinance enforcing, correct?
Right. On your budget report, this will be reflected under the, it's not a separate department. It's always been separated out in the budget document, but that's actually will go under the planning budget.
Okay.
In the planning,
And then
in your budget.
if, like I said, the if of the the contracting of the deputy, if we went that route, they put on there that they would do help with enforcement. And so my question is, does some of that go into that?
Well, they would, I think what they said, I'm sorry, I think what they said is they'd go with
With them, right. So that's my question is, does that count, them going with them, count as, do we need to, I'm just curious, would that?
You still have to pay
That'd be
our
part of that.
enforcement officer.
It'll be part of the.
It's
what
just
we
one
did with the-
package.
Yeah, this is
the
for
sheriff,
our
But this is
enforcement.
for ours.
Okay,
So like Shelley goes, to David Brown's,
right.
if she's worried, she could say to the officer,
the deputy to go with me."
will you go with me?
Right. I just was, like I said, trying to make sense of all the things on the table. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mhm. Streets and drains, that's of course $760 some of that is for the projects we approved. $762,000, and it's actually the estimate is $762,463. So I rounded it to $762,500 and added to that an estimated $5,000 for our drain at large assessment, which is something not the drain commissioner anymore.
Yeah,
Water
Water
Resources
Resources.
Commissioner sends to us in November or October or November when they get around to it. They send how much individuals are assessed for drain district benefits and also how much the township has to pay at large. As I stated, the planning and zoning included, supervisor's budget includes $50,000 of that $103,290 is an estimate for the expenses of an on-premise.
So that was a question. It's probably the devil's in the details, but the budget that we had, so looks like 68,000.
68,600.
600, did that encompass our zoning administrator support?
That's the expenses of the planning commission, for the meetings of the planning commission, the contract expenses for SCIO. For
Athens.
Athens, I like that. That's better.
CMCCI.
For Athens, it also includes if they have to, hire somebody else to look at a site plan, et cetera. It includes some money for that and for any legal fees that are associated directly with planning or zoning issues.
Okay, so the I don't know, whatever the rough number is, 45,000 or whatever it is that we added is the amount for the zoning administrator, I think I heard.
Yeah.
But we've had this $1,000 a month cost for SCMCCI, so I guess that's pales in comparison to the 45,000. So that's the part I'm really struggling with, is that's a big step.
Yeah, so the 50,000 is offset in part. It's not a true 50,000 added. 50,000 it was estimated within it for that, which is really about a $38,000 increase over what we're currently paying out.
Right.
And the other little adjustment that would show is that there was an amount in the current budget for the master plan
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
stuff.
say.
And so that was excised out before that 50,000 was added to.
This isn't a budget question, but Dave, are you guys scheduling interviews with these candidates?
We're working on that.
I was just wondering if it was coming to a head so we'd know shortly what that
Well,
number
we were gonna
is.
do some this week, but I haven't went anywhere since a year, and I planned this, I didn't really plan it, but it all just worked out, and I'm gonna be gone for 24 hours, and that's when they wanted to have some interviews. And I said, you know what? Right, and it's just about 24 hours.
Enjoying it.
12 hours we'll be driving.
Wow.
Oh,
Sounds like pain. And the capital outlay.
capital outlay is increased.
I think that's the one that had the parking lot on it.
Correct, yeah, but it's one of those things that some of that,
Yeah, I mean, it's a list of ideas rather than exactly how it would be done. Where else, what did I do with that?
I've got this wild and crazy idea, since we didn't get a new town hall, since this is nice, but the other part is just kind of a mishmash. It'd be nice to just find out, I don't know how much this cost when you guys made this into a hall from the fire station, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody remember rough numbers? But you can do a lot, I was just thinking about at some point in the future, gut that whole area right down to the walls and make it what works for elections and offices and things, because it's such a mishmash right now. And I have no idea, what is it, 100,000, is it 200,000? I really don't have a feel, but it sure would, ideally we would have moved, something like Emmett and had a fire station, town hall, but we didn't. So it's just something that's been on my mind is, I mean, the heating system, just for example, it's such a.
It's an add-on.
And the plenum goes up over a giant I-beam, so it restricts the flow, and people are scratching their head like, why would you guys do that? But, you know, it evolved, right, from probably what was ever built here in the 50s or whenever it was first built.
Well, the records room, assessor's office, and the supervisor's office, et cetera, that was added.
Okay.
And I forget exactly when, but it was added, like right around the turn of the century. It's kind of funny to say that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, you know, about 2000, it was in there, right in there somewhere.
Wow.
And then this part was done. And it really,
2012 or something.
yeah. So, yeah, and we had talked in the past about precisely with
Right. No,
HVAC system stuff, and it was not followed through because we didn't know what the status was gonna be.
right. Right.
And it really should be resumed, because they really don't like that we use, well, I mean, we can't have public hours during elections because that's where the counting board is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it'd be nice to lay out, you know, what, you know, for all the different uses.
We were gonna use ARPA funds for that at one point.
Yeah, we were, and then there were a lot of,
Road.
we found that the bureaucratic red tape was easier if we used the road. The road, H drive, one project, H drive by another governmental agency had a lot less red tape attached to it than it would have been doing our own construction project, et cetera.
We were at the point where we had to spend that,
Yeah.
right?
So at any rate, it needs to be done, and that's part of the reason why we have in the fund balances, in one of the designated fund balances, we have $115,130 set aside for future projects. It says facilities, it's technically called facilities improvement and road maintenance.
That's in the packet.
Yeah. The updated one. We did that last year and then I just added 25 to it. So that project really, looking into that really needs to be reactivated.
What that is.
I think it would be interesting to research it this year. I just worry with all the roads we're doing, throwing another big project on, but I definitely think moving, you know, I agree.
Research it because.
Yeah.
It might not be, again, I don't have a feel for it. I know my son completely redid his first floor on a house and with all the bells and whistles, and it was like $100,000 type thing. So here we wouldn't be dealing with, you know, the same kinds of spaces, but it might not be as horrific as we think.
Yeah.
But at least we could get somebody,
Yeah, get some quotes out here.
you know, to say, okay, you know, can you give us a ballpark figure, because we don't have a layout, and then maybe start looking at a layout too.
Yeah, layout would be nice.
Yeah, we had started working with, out of Battle Creek, the construction manager, the outfit. And they're also Schweitzer.
Yeah, Schweitzer.
Okay.
Schweitzer, because they were coming. For this, we had used CSM out of Augusta, somewhere along the freeway there. But Schweitzer had come
Seemed like
recommended.
they did some work for us on that, didn't they? When we did.
Yeah,
the
they did
drainage.
a little bit of work in looking at, to give us a ballpark.
Did they do any like drawings or not?
No,
Oh.
they didn't get into that part because that was gonna cost us money.
Drawing out those plans, yeah. It does start to-
Even, you know, concepts.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That was gonna start costing us.
We could start even just you get some dimensions and we could just scratch
It would be nice
down
to,
on a piece of paper, the rough ideas of, you know, what space do you want for elections, right? Because
Well, the red tape on the floor,
that's what it is.
that was kind of the marker of what we just were thinking about of putting some areas out.
it would be helpful, Jeff, to pick your brain on that too, just because you've seen what the, you know, from an election side of things, what would be needed. You know, just being in here with our different, you know, the assessors, the storage rooms, like what, you know, I would hate to start planning something and miss something. Yeah, like, it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, we forgot we needed something for this and, you know, we don't wanna.
Okay, I think, I don't know if, I think there's a file somewhere on that. But at any rate, this was, this was increased 30,000 over this year. And we haven't committed this year, not all of that's gonna be spent, obviously. All of the 35,000, but, it would be for the removal of the outbuilding at Hotchkiss Cemetery. The seal coating of the parking lot at Station 2 will be paid for from millage funds. And a telephone system.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
We need
What
a
don't,
telephone
what don't you
system.
like about our phone system?
Well, aside from the fact that it's old, number one.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even remember when we got it. I think that was turn of the century too. It's old, but, it came to my attention the other day that, Carl transferred a call into Colleen, an elections call, and she picked up and it was dead. The phone was dead.
Oh.
And, they fiddled with it and tried to get it to work. And fortunately, they found a phone on the shelf, an extra phone on the shelf in the records room, and plugged that in and it works.
Okay.
But the other one was deader than a doorknob and he wanted to know what to do with it. And so I told him what to do with it.
Circle filer.
Yes. And I said, I knew there was something that rang a bell there, but it needs a new phone system. How you do it is,
Installed by Michigan Bell.
needs to be
Wow, that's
researched.
oldie but goodie, huh?
Yeah. Installed by Michigan Bell over there.
Hmm?
Was installed by Michigan Bell.
No, I think this was installed by the former deputy clerk's husband, Howland. Deb Howland was deputy township clerk, her husband, Ron.
There must be a
Had a company or something.
server of some sort or something that,
There's, in my office, and there's that little door there, and which they use, which was used kind of like a very thin storage area, but there's a whole bunch of telephone equipment in there.
oh, okay. Because you can, it's funny because phone systems can get really expensive now really quickly because of the voice over
Line.
internet. and
Yeah.
everything.
You're not old enough to remember those.
Party line. We had one at my cabin.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it rang a certain way, and if you're like, oh,
What's next here? Oh, I wanted to note on the dispatch authority, apparently we will receive by next month, we'll receive
you fixed
what
it. That was $9.
our calls for service formula yields, but they don't expect it to be significantly different one way or the other.
It's interesting that that's gone, it looks like it's gone down dramatically. Is that,
Well, it did because of millage.
Okay.
It's the millage that they got passed, one of the things they promised was to significantly decrease their calls for service.
yeah, I think I remember.
It's not $9.
No, it's 9,000. I just
okay.
saw
You're
that.
good.
Thank you.
It's not $9, Glenn. It'd be nice, but
Yeah.
So then we come to the
Yep.
sheriff contract.
And then, and that would be based on the discussion, or the discussion that the sheriff had, that if they were given the green light on it, he mentioned July 1st, so.
yeah.
What this recommendation, the recommendation in this budget document is that we try that for the remaining 9 months of this year.
So this is a big step in my mind. It's, you know, I know we did the part-time thing starting, looks like in 24, 25. And that seemed to work pretty good. I don't know if he was retracting the ability to do that anymore. It was a little bit confusing to me what he was proposing. It seemed like it was working good, and I, in my mind, you know, and we've had this, there's been a lot of discussion, probably one-on-one discussions about moving towards a charter township where you have to have some contract, and I think somebody may have told me you have to have at least one full-time. I'm not sure about that, but just seems like I'm wondering if we're really ready for a full-time sheriff in Marshall Township. I mean, what would be the reasoning? What would be the deficiency we have now?
Well, I guess from what he said that night, he's had increased activity in Marshall Township. That was one thing. He said, they say most of the calls come from Marshall Township, and what was the other township?
I don't recall exactly what he did say about that. I know he did say Sheridan Township now has full-time, Canvas does,
Lee.
Lee Township does. You know, myself, I would like to have seen some more, I would like to have seen some statistical information to the extent it's available, and I'm sure it is, that you must have it to show what the call rate is and what the types of calls, et cetera, are for it.
Because I mean, if it's a call, if it's somebody's breaking in my house, I'm here to tell you, you know, whether it's the state police, the sheriff, or probably even the city of Marshall, they're going to be. Well, I know because in Country Hills, you know, unfortunately, we had a self-inflicted suicide, and I'm here to tell you I think there were seven responding cars, state police, sheriff, and so I think that's there. The question would be what are we looking for more traffic control? You know, what would we be looking for this full-time person to do besides obviously support the calls that I just talked about, but
And
they
I
do
mean,
come. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not that far away from the, whatever you call it,
like during accidents too, they're sometimes one of the first to arrive too.
who?
The police are one of the first to arrive.
Right.
So, I mean, and they help maintain that while rescue units are working, that traffic doesn't, create even more problems there. But I agree, I would say at least from, we had a lot of, I agree with what you said about the contract seemed to work really well. We'd be like, hey, we're getting a lot of complaints over here.
Right.
He'd be over there, like that was useful.
Right, especially during this time period too,
Yeah.
where traffic was getting diverted in certain places and stop signs were being put up or taken down. I can't remember which on A Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed, so I don't know, it just,
It's a big thing.
It is a big thing.
Well,
yeah,
I understood it. Well, my view of it was, you know, they're only getting so much money from the county. And he was looking for a funding source
Right.
to add a person full-time.
right,
And if that person wasn't directed towards the township, they'd be off assisting wherever was needed,
right,
you know. I'm happy with the agreement we have with them right now and to continue that. It's been very helpful,
yeah,
and the deputy that's been running that has done a great job.
right,
And I would like to see that continue for another year. Maybe relook at it next year once, you know, the factory gets up and running and people start doing whatever it is they have to do there. We'll flesh things out on how things are operating more concerning that. Because there's going to be an influx of more people, and maybe we'll get a better idea. But right now, I'm satisfied with what we have.
And with looking at other costs this year with the roads and stuff, it's just may make more sense to hold it off a year or two. I agree with you. I'm happy with where we're at, but you're right. Maybe we need to relook at it once that factory's up and running and, yeah, see what that looks like. But that's a big
And I
expense.
just do appreciate what the county sheriff and his deputies do for all of us, you know.
right.
Very personable, very professional, and they don't mind coming to talk to us and let us know what's going on. Appreciate that.
So do we think we have to go, I mean, I heard a couple of things. One is maybe we could get some statistics. Do we think we have to go back to Sheriff Hinckley and say, hey, can you support the ongoing part-time
I think
service?
I think we need to.
yeah, I think you need to do that, but I also would think that we should perhaps express our, our desire that we got some pretty detailed information about what the cost would be, but, we were kind of light on what the need is. And, what is our trend? Not just last year we had 16 B&Es in your township. What do we have over the last 5 years? Is it increasing? Is it an increased problem? Is this a thing where, in your professional judgment, you think we need more presence as a deterrent?
Yeah.
I mean, it's because it's not just a matter of responding to calls, it's a matter of
Patrolling.
patrolling.
Yeah.
And we get it. I mean, the county isn't any different than it has been for 50 years. There's 2, maybe 3 cars out there from the sheriff's department, or 1 or 2 from the state police. We're fortunate, yes, to have the law enforcement center here because they all have to come in through our through our jurisdiction to get there. So that is helpful. But what is our need? Do we have a real need for it?
Right.
You know, so I think that and it'll probably take a while for them to gather that stuff around, and then I think the board would be in a better position to have a good discussion. I mean, then have the discussion with them, real heart-to-heart discussion with them as to the need and the presence and what exactly do you see this person doing?
Yeah.
What do they do in Canvas, you know?
Right. Canvas seems like, Sheridan I could kind of understand.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more, but Canvas seems like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, Lee,
Yeah.
I
Same
mean,
thing.
I'm surprised they recognize the sheriff.
Well, I think
As it being
the
an
Lee,
account
the Lee one
special.
was more because of all the solar and
Yeah,
all the things going on there.
yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I did read a little bit about that in the last couple of advisors. Sheridan, that may be the reason Sheridan too.
Yeah, when they're trying to pick up the wire.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's dangerous business getting into DC wiring and,
be fried.
yeah.
So, I think that should be communicated that that we would like very much to continue the enhanced traffic enforcement at the current level, but uh, we're interested, maybe just, we're
We need more
interested, but
information.
we need a lot more information before we can commit to these type of dollars.
Nice measuring way of saying that.
So I guess this is the proverbial question, who's gonna do that? Is that something, Dave, you would have time to do, or?
I can call Steve, then I'll wait for him to call me back.
He's pretty
good.
pretty, email works
Yes.
good too, cause he's obviously got lots of things going on, but,
Okay.
We're not the only township in this county.
So for the purposes of the markup, then I gather that we would return that to that appropriation to its current level of 18. Well,
That was 20.
yeah, I think it is 18, but that was because we made an
Later.
adjustment in the year type thing. So should we then have that at 20? And then I'll move the rest of that down into contingency as well,
Sounds good.
which would be 96,568.
Yeah.
restroom real quick.
Temperature.
So the two that I have is the thing with regard to the fire department. And and this sheriff contract.
Yeah.
Now, when the fire truck comes due, how will that payment be made?
Check.
Full amount, or are we gonna go into
No, they had proposed some things where you would give them deposits up front, and then you would make a final payment at delivery. And we went with final payment at delivery, period. And the reason for that is Marengo Township had an unfortunate experience, not with this company, but with another company, and they paid half of it up front, and ended up having to send people to Wisconsin to get the frame
Wow.
because they did not fulfill their contract and had the money, their half of the money.
No. That seems like a nightmare.
So that's when we decided, nah.
Yeah. When we have the machine.
When we get the truck, you get the money. So they bring the truck out, if I recall correctly. They'll bring the truck out Or do we send somebody to pick it up?
No, Jay says,
I think they.
Jay says they'll go out and take a look at it.
Yeah, they
But
got
they
the
can't bring
inspection.
it back. Their guys have to bring it.
Their guys bring it back, et cetera.
Correct, correct.
And when Jay says that it's all there and everything's fine, then puts his signature on that, and then we issue the check.
But for the full amount at the
Mhm.
time of
Yep.
delivery. Okay.
Which I think will be June.
And then there's gotta be some, I know for like all kinds of industrial equipment, there's, I don't know what you'd call them, but you can go out and buy used equipment, robots and things like that. There's gotta be something similar for fire trucks, I would think.
I mean refurbished?
Yeah, or in this case, I mean, they're ready to go. It's just that they're gonna be 20 or 30 years
Oh,
old.
you mean selling ours?
Yeah,
Yeah.
market.
Yeah,
Well, there's a market out there because I think, Jay's in the, there's a lot of fire departments who can't afford
right,
new ones, so.
right. So that's what I mean. I don't know if there's like a clearinghouse out there that you sell them to and then they farm them out.
As long as he's been in this business, he knows who these guys are. And if not,
Yeah, I've seen
Steve's
ads
there
in
too,
MTA,
yeah.
and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think there'll be much of a problem passing them on to the next owners.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the General Appropriations Act part, I'll point out the changes, the first changes well, aside from any references to the budget year of being now 26, 27, I think I got all of those right. Number 4, which is the property tax rate, that was updated to include the estimate that was provided by Dan of our estimated taxable value. And so those figures were updated accordingly. Just dates were updated in number 5. And in number 6, the date was updated. Number 8, the language that we added a couple of meetings ago about paying members of statutory boards and commissions who are appointed to committees created by them being compensated, that language was incorporated. Although Joanna did point out, and I frankly never saw it before, but so in that last sentence where it says posted meetings, not all meetings are
Right.
posted.
Right.
Sub-quorum meetings aren't, so that word posted, unless there's objection, I'll strike from the document.
That sounds good.
I mean, the check and balance there is that the committee has to have been created by the board or commission, so it'll be a matter of its meeting record that it was
Right.
created and who was appointed to it. In number 10, it's not $762.40 whatever. It's 762,000. There'll be a comma, will be changed. No other changes until item 13. This will be modified. First of all, this was modified to update the dates and the amounts from the audit, which were included in there, but language will be added with regard to $120,000 being used to to fund the operational expenses of the fire department from the millage. And also the language will be slightly modified here, because at the time this was written, I didn't have the exact language, which I passed out. It was on the 2016. And actually, the last levy of the current renewal will be this December. So this December's levy is not dependent on voter approval.
Okay.
It's already been approved.
Right.
Because it's through 2026 inclusive.
So, say that again, what happens in December?
The levy that's coming up December 1st is under the current authority
Right, okay,
to levy it.
okay, sure.
2027 would be the mark of the
Right.
next one.
That's,
Summer,
this is winter.
that's right. So December of 2027
Seven would be
would
the
be under
first
the
year
new-
of the renewal. Yeah.
If it passes.
In the renewal, I know what the word means, but since the millage was originally 1.5 and I assume got rolled back by the Headley
Headley.
Amendment, is a renewal what it is now, or can it be 1.5?
It's a renewal, it would be a renewal of the 1.5.
Okay,
And so the Headley, as I understand it, the Headley re-triggers.
okay,
Goes back up, it can go back up to 1.5. We have the authority as a board not to, I mean, you could say, well, we're only gonna levy 1 mil this year.
Right.
But then you shoot yourself in the foot because
Right.
that goes in the
Right.
gap.
so if, and I'm assuming we probably will, but if we do the renewal, it'll be 1.5.
Yes, the fire board approved for that to go to the board. So I will be essentially presenting that at this next board
So
meeting.
it'll probably be similar
Yeah.
wording to this, except for dates and,
Correct. We probably need the,
How we've, and
yeah.
it can be done any different way, but what we've done in the past when we did, well, the one time it's been renewed, is that we passed a motion of intent
Yes.
and requested the township attorney
To
to
rewrite
provide
the
a
draft language.
proposal for a 10-year renewal of the millage. And then at the next meeting, we would do that like at February's meeting. And then at March, we would have the exact language back because it might,
Yeah, it might be tweaked.
who knows what the legislature's done since 2017.
Right. Right.
And then we would the clerk at that time would then certify it to the county.
Before the
and
May.
Before the May deadline, plenty of time before the May. But like the clerk told us, you don't have to wait till the deadline.
No. You can, yeah.
You can send them in any day now, she
Right.
said.
Yeah. No, yeah. So I'll make sure I email you that's.
So that number 13 will look different when I update this for whatever we do tonight. 14 is a new provision with regard to the fire truck replacement coming from the designated, from the fire millage restricted fund balance. And this would also express our intent that the apparatus being replaced will be sold by the fire department with the proceeds credited to the restricted, that should be, not designated, to the restricted reserve as the apparatus was originally purchased with voted millage funds.
so I
In
think,
essence, we get it back, but
so I think I remember when this question came up, maybe at our January meeting, I think you said if it was bought
by millage funds,
millage funds, it goes back to millage funds, but if it was bought by general funds,
it would go back to the general fund, but it's.
Do we
that's
have
for-
that option, or can we just?
It's for accounting purposes, actually.
Okay.
Whatever happens in the case, like, just, like, it's like, if something was purchased, let's say, our fire millage didn't have enough to be able to purchase something, so we bought it with fire and millage, but we had to supplement it with the general.
General funds.
Yeah, would that be proportional, or would it be,
You could, yeah.
okay.
And then, number 15 is just updated for the new audited figures and the year reference. Number 16 was updated to include the amount, which in this proposal is 65,000 for a capital outlay, as may be specifically approved by the township board, with the same language that we've historically had in here, that the clerk and the treasurer can use up to 15,000 of that to replace or upgrade information technology equipment. Number 17 is updated to include the figures that were included in the fire department budget.
Just out of curiosity, going back to 16, so like informational technology, could that be like, if we wanted to digitize our files or something, like a system
Well,
to?
we did have some funds, but we never used them, so they just went back into fund balance, because everything to digitize at that time,
Yeah.
at that point in time, everything started out at $50,000 or more. I mean,
Yeah,
there was one company that said, for anywhere, do you want us to scan your documents? The cost would be totally for the equipment and the scanning equipment and the initial scanning, anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000.
Yeah, yeah,
And I remember when, and this has been a long time ago, but in the late 90s, when we digitized and did a workflow system for the front of the court and the circuit court
yeah.
offices, the county approved and was spent initially about 1.2 million.
Oh, goodness.
But I mean, there is no paper.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Everything's digital.
the documents move when it's ready for the judge to sign. It's put in the judge's queue, and then it's all
Yeah.
digitally signed.
Yeah,
I mean, that type of system, but we listed that as a separate item in capital outlay. What this intention is for is if a server went kaput,
okay.
we wouldn't have to have a special board meeting to
have that.
have the server replaced.
That's good.
Or if like if, well, we wanted the remote, I think it was you for your
DPN.
remote access and stuff, for whatever expense for that. That's the routine minor
Yeah.
thing that we don't need to wait and hold the
Or
board.
another board,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
But something major like
Yeah,
a
system
digitized
would be,
system would come back to the board under capital outlay.
okay, good to know.
There is a comma after that 71 too there.
Yeah, where did I see that? Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. Good catch, Mike.
Jesus, why did they put the comma and the period next to each other on the keyboard is beyond me.
Yeah.
It's so easy to hit.
How many years has it been there, Jeff?
I don't know, quite a
I
few.
think they moved the comma.
Another reason for retirement.
There you go.
let's see. Okay, just to recap, there was no change proposed in any of these, but in the, and I think this is one where we didn't catch. I'm sure that's, instead of a sign, that should be designated, but I'll double check that with the audit.
19? And
Yeah, in eight, yeah, in 19. Let me, no, it's a sign, sorry. Assigned is the proper,
Word.
that used to be called designated, but they changed it to assigned. You know, these board of auditors love to
Oh,
change
yeah,
things.
language. Yeah.
So if any place else in here, I'll do another proofread to see if there's designated. And anything, because I see in the next one, it even talks about the last sentence is undesignated. Well, that's unassigned.
Yeah, unassigned.
So I'll make sure that nomenclature is correct.
the 400,000 for budget stabilization, that means like if for some reason revenue didn't come in like we had hoped, or
Yikes.
Yes. Yes, it's available. It's a rainy day fund.
right,
Until the time that we made that, it was just carried in the unassigned fund balance. And we were advised that, at that time, the legislature was talking about doing some funny things because the state was having a problem. And it was highly recommended that if we were contemplating using unassigned, undesignated funds, that we should say so and make sure it's there so that it didn't get classified as surplus. We'll take it.
That's a period at the end of 21 too, Joe.
Yeah, that's gonna have to be, thank you. That I'll reword in accordance with our conversation then. So that last sentence won't even be needed.
Yeah,
And,
depending upon what he comes back with.
yep.
Yeah.
Forty-two just reflects, it took the master plan wording out and put in the wording regarding an on-premise zoning administrator. In the casino revenue sharing, I shortened that up because there is no requirement to account for how you use these funds. And it gets to be difficult when the budget document says how you're gonna do things, but you don't account for it that way. And the casino revenue sharing is meant to assist you in your general operations, so that's what the language was simplified to. Trying to.
Out of curiosity, on 27, just like if we get a zoning administrator and they're gonna be here 4 days a week, just curious if that, like, does that make a difference or do we just?
Well, it depends on what you want them. If you want to have them so that they have like some time uninterrupted to do things or go out in the field and
Yeah.
do that, then you don't want to post those as public office hours.
That's a good point.
If the zoning administrator wants, whoever they're hired wants to have appointments that day,
They can do that.
they could do that.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
bring that, but I think that's a good point.
Yep.
Uninterrupted time is,
This is just more intended to be those are our normal
hours.
public office hours.
It's looking good.
And the amount for that, with the sixth allocation of the county parks millage is updated to include that, to be what their current estimate is.
Is the, just out of curiosity, when we get those park funds, like, and we give it to the school, do we just give the full amount or do they request, like, we need this?
They have
much?
to, well, they've only done it once.
Yeah.
And they did request it, and we didn't have any requirements as to what had to be contained in the request. They did tell us what they used it for.
Okay.
They didn't tell us ahead of time what they were used for, but they told us what it was used for. So it's open because we don't just automatically do that. The money comes in and we hold it until we receive a request from them. And if we want further information from them, then we can ask for it, or we can tell them up front. This is what we expect on future requests. By the way, we're holding this amount of money at the current time for you. So.
That's fair.
Well, we can't hold on to it for more than 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
We're not gonna just like stockpile.
You
No,
know,
no.
They won't let you.
We'll give you $2.
No, in fact, we had,
I know.
for the other one, there was 3 years worth, and we had to remind them, hey.
You need to use this, yeah.
Jeff, this report, it says, not required state report. It's a L 422 taxable. Is that our estimate?
That's just what he said to me for the estimate, yep. That's our estimated taxable value. That came from Dan.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. Are we done with these?
Yeah, unless there's any questions or anything, I'll make those changes so far.
So one thing I know I missed was, I think Joanne had brought up, do we need to add the AV officer to
Per diem.
the list of whatever we call that?
I don't think, we've never listed everybody
Okay.
in them. What we've just said is as authorized, and the board separately authorized that.
So it wouldn't go on these kind of a
Are you
list?
suggesting,
Not unless you want to create a position.
right, I guess the question is like, right now I'm doing it, but like if I'm not able to do it, would someone still get the per diem if I'm not doing it, is what you're saying?
Well, at the time at the time the board would designate somebody else to do it, they would designate what their compensation is for it. Because who knows, it might be hourly, it might be.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything
I was
else?
just gonna say, with that 60, never mind. Oh, God. I was just thinking, with a $60 per diem, if a meeting lasts more than 4 hours, we're getting dangerously below the,
Oh,
dangerously
minimum
close
wage,
to the
yeah,
minimum
listen,
wage.
yes, it's okay. I'm not in it for the money.
Okay,
Yeah.
if everybody's done, we'll move on to the fire millage.
I guess it was on this agenda, so that works.
Kind of talked about that, and I found the spreadsheet
Yeah,
helpful, very helpful. I think it demonstrates a need for it, so. Fire board's recommended it.
Yeah, and so, yeah, they're gonna be, yeah, so we'll just,
There was a lot of positive in the survey,
Yeah.
a lot of positive fire comments, and
Yeah.
so I think, I don't see that it's a struggle, and it does seem like we need the 1.5 mils to, I mean, it doesn't even really cover all of our costs, but it sure is helpful.
no, and that, I mean, yeah, as you said, Glenn, like it, there was a lot of questions of, like, I think there was another question about, do you support a road millage? And people were like, no, but when it came to the fire millage, that was one that people felt like, yes, we support.
Right.
The fire millage is something that they felt that they supported and they would vote again for.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody
And
good with that, or move on to the 5 years?
Yeah, sorry, it was handwritten. For some reason, I didn't get to put that in so I could mix commas and periods up. But we're also supposed to do, as part of our budgeting process, a 5-year capital improvements, which is not an appropriation or a commitment. It's more of a guide. And I just jotted down some things that came to mind. The removal of the outbuilding at Hotchkiss Cemetery, the seal coating of the parking lot for Station 1 in 2030 to 31, which would be in here because they recommend doing that earlier. It used to be you waited till cracks appeared. Then Station 2 was should be done this year. But it might be more than that. It might be I don't know how you would term that.
Yeah.
Maintenance of parking lot?
Yeah.
Because it might be more than seal
I
coating.
think they were talking about,
Like a crack or something.
they were talking about, where they mill it up and put down new
Yeah.
asphalt so they could get rid of the cracks, but
Or
there was a
refurbish,
whole bunch of discussion,
Yeah.
not this last meeting, but the meeting before, I think.
refurbish parking lot,
Yeah.
26, 27. For the town hall here, at some point, and I've got to dig in some files I think we did this 3 years ago. Was that when we did it?
Seal coat?
Yeah. So that would probably be 28, 29. That'll have to be looked at. Replace the HVAC system. Will need to be assigned to a year, maybe 27, 28. Not 26, 27. I'm just kind of targeting these at a future time when you really get a good chance to look at it. You might decide to move it up or delay it. the office area update, remodel.
See, I'd do those, if it was me, I'd
Together.
do them together, because I think, I'm gonna guess maybe the HVAC system on the roof is not the best place, but I don't think the one for this room.
Oh, it's out on the ground level.
Right, right, which is, makes it easier to service, it's not subject to the same kind of heat and ice and snow, I guess, maybe.
Telephone system replacement. Really should be done sometime during this next budget year. And then in 27, the voting tabulators, the two that we have, will need to be replaced. The state will select, the process under the law is the state selects what approved after they go through all sorts of testing and everything. They tell us what they are, and they negotiate a price, a statewide price. And then we have to then cough up with it. And the clerk was coming up with was gonna try and get from the state at least an estimate so that people could start planning on it. Because they're not cheap.
Is that something that the state requires every so often? You have to,
Every 5 or 10 years, something like that.
Okay.
So we have to
So, I mean, those were just things that
tabulate.
I thought of right off the bat. I mean,
yeah, makes sense. Now, that Hotchkiss Cemetery, maybe that could be a fire department project where they use it for practice to burn it down or something.
it's stone.
It's stone.
Oh, well, that's right, yeah, I think.
It's stone and concrete, but they used to do that, but they don't do it anymore. The burns, because the DNR requirements are something else. No.
So like the
Is the
goats,
roof that outbuilding, is like the roof caved in or
goat
something?
shelter.
Is that what's going on?
Rotted. And like there's cracks, like if one were gonna keep it for whatever reason, which I don't propose to do, then it would,
Gail remembers.
it really should have been, it was cut pointed and that sort of stuff over the years.
When she was a kid, the horse went up to its knees
But we're not gonna have burials there, you might want to.
scarred her for life.
Yeah, no joke.
Right,
Just get it done.
yeah, John just told me, he said, I don't really see why you would go to the expense of replacing it or restoring it. And he says, because we don't use it anymore for anything.
Right. It sounded like maybe that was the equipment building when we had our own lawnmower and stuff or something.
Yeah.
I don't know about the lawnmower, but they kept the shovels in there, probably.
Shovels.
Probably some good stone if you want to go in there and chip off all the concrete.
Nick's saying, we could save on lawn mowing, just get some goats and make it a goat shelter.
Like a
I
word.
don't think it's that big.
Well,
Just
two goes.
Two goats.
Or we could just ask the tribal people, because they move them along that one bank, the east bank, they have snow fence that they put up, and they just keep moving it, and they have are they goats or sheep?
Probably goats.
Goats,
Yeah, goats eat anything.
because it's side of the hill, and they just keeping. I said, well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
It's goats.
let's go.
Makes sense.
All right. We're done with that. We'll open up to audience comments. Seeing there's no audience comments. We'll open up to board member comments. There's no board member comments.
All right, board member.
We'll move into the adjournment.
Okay. There we go. Let me close this up. I can find the cursor now. There it is.
I do